Thank you for joining our series.
Thank you for having me.
So we'll just jump right without wasting much time. Now, the first thing we want to know is, how was it like for you growing up? Tell us a bit about you before the Uwem that is the VP of. So we want to know a bit about you.
It's like every time I get asked this question, I don't know where to start. I had an interesting childhood, to be very honest. My dad was a clergyman, a very modern way of saying a pastor. And my mom was a civil servant. She was one of the first people that started teaching technical training in secondary schools, technical drawing generally. So I had a very nice merging of two worlds: pastor, disciplinarian, mother, disciplinarian. So you had to read your books, you had to read your Bible, everybody had to be proper, right? And to be honest, growing up, I really did dislike it because we're taught to live a life of service, right? So every Sunday, everybody gathers in the house, you cook for everybody, you wash all the plates. Sunday used to be so much work. You wash the plates, you're hungry, but the visitors have to eat first, this kind of thing. But I guess in that, it taught me to serve people, it taught me to manage people, it taught me to manage resources, because my mom wasn't the typical Nigerian mother. I would say the boys don't have to be in the kitchen. I was forced to be in the kitchen. I was cooking for them. I even cook better than my sister. So I learned so many things growing up. My dad was very eloquent. He could speak very well. I wish I took that from him. I feel like I don't speak as good as him. So we're forced to learn new words. We're always watching the newspaper. We're forced to read a newspaper. I remember growing up going to my cousin's place, and the mother looked at me and was like, everybody's watching TV. You're reading newspaper. Not knowing that my father said, don't be good there. Go and read the newspaper, because my aunt used to have this stash of newspapers. But that kind of shaped my mind on how the world operated, right? And on how things were happening in the country. And that kind of influenced the way I approached life as I entered my teen years, as I entered secondary school and eventually university. So growing up was rather interesting. I had the best of, like I said, two worlds. And it kind of shaped my worldview of how things should be done and how things can be done.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Now, apart from growing up that way, I see it spilled over into your kind of person, the environment you grew up in. And how was your early career?
I always tell people hindsight is 2020. So if you can see the future, you probably would do things differently. And if you could see the past, if you go back in the past, you could change certain things, right? But I'll say that my career started right from my university days. And that's why I tell people, purpose is found in doing. Your purpose is found in the things that you do at wherever you are, wherever place you're working, whatever church you're attending. You find your purpose by doing. You don't just stumble on it, right? I studied electrical engineering in Covenant University, but I found out that I was more into extracurricular activities. I led a dance school, even though I can't dance anymore. We hosted one of the best tech events in school then, Tech Week 08. Like, our event was the bomb. So I was doing events, we were entertaining people, and then I was repairing laptop as a side gig. So my mom was a civil servant. Back then, University school fees was high because it was three of us in Covenant University. So I was fixing laptops, I was running a side business in school to make ends, I won't say to make ends meet, to have extra money to survive. So it doesn't look like I was suffering. I wasn't suffering. All the money went into school fees, so I had to make money through other means. But I found out that as I was doing those things, I was beginning to find my niche. I was beginning to find the things that I enjoy doing. Even though I started those things as necessity, I started dancing because I was bored in school. I went to a Christian school, and there are very few activities you can do for fun, right? And so I ended up joining the units that were doing things that looked like fun. I was dancing, I was in choir, we used to rehearse and play music and turn secular music into Christian music when we were playing the instrument. I used to play the piano and play the trumpet, right? But I found out that, and I've seen that all these things that I've done has led me to where I am. Because immediately after I finished Covenant University, you have this zeal, this vigor. I'm going to change the world, elect. Yeah. I'm going to work in Schneider Electric. I'm going to work in that. And Nigeria hits you. You realize that
Nigerian factor.
Nobody's. Yeah, you apply, no response. I didn't graduate with a bad result. I went to one of the Ivy League schools in Nigeria. So why was it so hard to get the kind of job I wanted? Now, one of the things that I'm also thankful for Covent University is it taught, and one lesson that I sort of forgot when I started working, Covent University taught me to value myself. And so when somebody sent me an offer and said 10,000, I was like, me. After I paid all these school fees in Covent University, after I worked this hard, I'm not smart, I'm not dull, right? I'm smart. How would I collect 10K? And so most of the offers I was getting, I was rejecting, but I kept on applying. God knows I applied to over 100 places. Anyways, service year, I worked my service year in Lagos. And because my mom was a teacher, my mom vehemently said, you must not teach. Shout out to all the teachers out there. They are great people. Right? But my mom says working in civil service as a teacher is a black hole. You enter in and it's very difficult for you to come out. So you have people, she wanted to be an educator, she wanted to be a teacher. She formed some of the curriculum that they still use in technical drawing across military schools, right? So that was her calling. But my mom was like, if it is not your calling, the problem is that you get stuck in civil service teaching jobs. So you say you're going there for 1 year, 2 years, and you end up doing 15, 20 years. And a lot of our teachers back then were like that. They had so much drive for the world. I remember one of our teachers, Mr. Kinte, had so much dream about opening an FMCG company. He used to talk about it. He was teaching us economics and using himself as a case study. Guess what? He died as a teacher. Anytime I think about him, he's sad because he spent 15, 20 years still teaching the same GSS3, SS1, SS2. He never realized his dream. So back to my story, my mom was like, no, you mustn't teach. And so then that was the time that they changed the policy. Our federal government said, all NYSC students must teach. Wahala. So I went to the school, very far in Isheri. There was no road. In short, there's no single bank in that place. Red sand, deep inside. That's when I knew that Lagos can be a village if you know where you're going to. So I told him, I said, sir, I don't want to teach. He said, no problem. I didn't have space to pay you. So we came to an agreement. He just said, just be giving me something for drink. That's what he said. I said, no problem. And so, mind you, I'm not endorsing bribery. I was just lobbying. I wasn't bribing anybody. He didn't even want me to teach. Interestingly, I actually taught twice just for the fun of it. Like I went there and he wanted me to speak to the students. And that's why I said purpose is found. And I found out that the SS3 students, SS1 students really liked me because of the way I conveyed the kind of message I was trying to tell them. They really liked it. And so in the back of my mind, it kind of showed me that you can be a very good people's person. Mind, I'm an introvert. I'm actually very shy. If you take me out to a party, I'm at the back. In school, I'm always at the back. I'm those ones that cause trouble at the back, but you never see me, right? But it kind of showed me what I could be if I put extra effort. So I was asking myself, now that electronics engineering is not working for me, my friends were going abroad for their masters. Some used connections, were working in B.A.G, oil and gas companies and all that. They were earning so much money. And at some point I was feeling sad, but I asked myself, what do I want to do in my life? Is this where I want to continue? I forgot to add that in growing up, I used to dismantle all the electrical devices and put them back. My father was always upset with me. Then we had this black and white TV. He bought it. The next day I opened it. Asked me why I was opening it. I don't know. I just wanted to know how the TV works. Like I've always had this inquisitive attitude of trying to know how something works. He bought me a Walkman. My dad traveled abroad, was doing his PhD in theology. Then he used to send me Walkman, Sony Walkman that was latest in town. People didn't have it. The type that had a CD player. Chairman like me will open it up and then I won't be able to put it back. My father will come back and be so mad. So I found out that I knew that I was that kind of person that wanted to see how things work. So I signed up and shout out to the federal government also for this, to one of the side programs, one of those their skill programs, where we're taught to build websites. Mind you, I built my first website through HTML in university, in my 500 level. I just sat down one day. I wanted to learn university how to do that, and I did that. Also, in dancing in university, I learned how to edit music. So I was just doing all these things for fun. All these skills that I actually use right now to either make money for myself or to reach more people. And so I was building websites throughout my NYSC days. And I was making 50K a year, 60K a year, 70K a year, 100K a year.
Gosh.
And then when I get a job offer and they tell me 50K, I'm like, but if I work hard and I get a client, I will build a website in 1 weekend. and I would get 50K. So why would I collect that? So I began to value myself more. And my first job, I landed with someone that stayed abroad. He had a team in Nigeria, but he stayed abroad. And so the first offer was, how much? 50K. I said, no. He said, I like you. I really like you. I want to work for me. Okay, I will give you, was it 85K or 95K? Now, I took that job not because of the salary, but because of the experience I was going to get. So an advice I tell young people is that you don't work for free, you work for value. Now, value can be money. Value can also be the experience you get on the job. Value can be the connection. Value can even be how the boss ends up seeing you. So you work for value, not for free. And the value for me in that job was that I was going to be working with a team of Indian developers, people I'd never seen in my life before. I was going to be learning about product management and QA, quality assurance. And so I started working there. Now, in leaving the company, I realized I was getting paid more than somebody there he got his master's from the University of Newcastle. He was being paid 60K. I was being paid 85K. Bloody me, no master's, fresh from university, fresh NYC. I was being paid. So this is why I say learning to value yourself is very important. I'm not saying quote one exorbitant figure, but value yourself, because nobody's going to value you better than you value yourself. And so I worked there, and then one day I got a call from Tony Lumelu, or the Hairs Holdings, said, we got your CV. I think you should come for an interview. Mind you, I don't even know when I applied. It probably when I left university, because I was just applying everywhere. Any company, I would submit my CV. Or maybe somebody referred me. I do not know. Till today, I do not know. But that call actually changed my life, changed the trajectory of how I was building my career, and changed the way I even see the world. And so I had like 7 interviews. Oh God, it was frustrating. One day I'm in UBA because Tony Lumelu to interview with one of the IT guys. One day I'm with the HR guy. The next day I'm with somebody else. And then finally I had an interview with him because he ends up speaking with everybody he wants to employ. Now I found out that the reason why I did so many interviews was he liked me, but there was no space to put me. He didn't know if I should be in marketing, because I had a bit of marketing knowledge. I was building websites. I was doing graphics design. But I was also a core IT person, because during my Cywest days, my IT days, I worked for Unilever. I worked for Computer Warehouse Group, and that's another great company, my goodness. Computer Warehouse Group posted me to so many places, and I was doing IT support for so many companies, from Unilever to Barclays Bank when we were in Nigeria, to so many companies. So I had a lot of experience, which is why I say your purpose is found in doing. No knowledge is lost. I know university used to complain. I even say it sometimes. Look at the nonsense I learned. I learned so many theories in elect. I can't use it, right? But you find that majority of the knowledge you gain while learning these things or going through that phase is very relevant. Who would have thought that everything I gathered along the way will get me a job working with one of the most prestigious multinationals in Nigeria? And then, so I got there and he said, you know what? Stay in marketing. We need to revamp our website. I want you to manage that process. No, I wasn't building a website. Somebody was building it, wanted me to manage it and do content and all that. And so I was there for like 2 months, and then they moved me to IT. And that's where my career just kind of blew up. So yeah, that's the story of how I ended up in Hairs Holdings, and the rest is history.
That's a whole lot. And you know, before you even spoke, I was also going to ask about the entire, because I think for me, reading about you, I think I could also say that one of the milestones in your career was having that Tony Lumelu Foundation, but how was it for you? Yeah. Were you able to transit from one, because you said you were working in marketing, were you able to transit because I know there are people that transit between different departments in a particular place. Yeah. So that also... One of the leadership skills I learned from Lumelu is to always consider growing your team from within. Right? If there's a new role, how about look for somebody within the team that has the role, the skills that can fit that role, and train the person or put them on that path that can help them grow. Now, if they challenge themselves, they feel they don't. Sorry, right? And so I was in IT. I mean, I moved from marketing to IT because you can say website management is a bit of marketing, is also a bit of IT, right? I was in IT and we're executing projects. We're building software for Avon Medical. We're deploying solutions for Avon HMO. We were across all the companies. Because I was in IT, I was gaining experience. When Transfer was doing their migration, I went to Ugeli to help them, right?
when we did the first major transition from Google to Microsoft, I was part of that whole process. So I was gaining all the skills over time. And then in 2014, I think, he said, hey, we called a group of people together and said, CEO, I give money out a lot. And because I was in IT, I knew he used to give money a lot. Like you see so many, people reach out to say, hey, my husband is dying. I need my children's school fees, please. Oh, I have this business, all that. And he said, I want to rethink the way I give money. You all sit down together and figure out how we can build out an entrepreneurship program that can replace the way I give money, right? Around that period, I think he met Paminda Ver, the then CEO of the foundation, who actually put the idea in his head that why don't you give money to entrepreneurs better, because the impact is more sustainable. And so he put us together in the room and said, you guys figure out the structure, do this thing. We must launch by December 2014 or so. And that's typical Tony Lumelu fashion. Go figure it out. And we sat down and we're like, wow, how many months do we have? What do we have to do? Everybody started scampering. Okay, you handle IT, you do this, you do that, And because I was in IT, I was put in charge of the platform that was to be built. So we had meetings with tech gurus from UBA, from different Oracle, all the rest, to figure out the tech architecture. And in that process, I was learning. And so when the program launched in December 2014, I hope I'm getting this right, I was the portal manager. Like I managed the portal. And we had a team that, was doing the programs, reaching out and all that. But after the first year passed, and I did my job so well, I was called back to IT. And then I was told, you know what, you did a very great job. Come and manage the program. So you see how step by step, I was building the capability to where I am today. If I didn't take that portal management seriously, I literally didn't used to sleep. Imagine managing people from 54 countries of Africa every day. 2 a.m., 3 a.m., I'm responding to messages, I'm sending out mails. I was working hard. In short, I think that's the time in my life that I worked my hardest. In short, I think I'm very lazy right now because I always find the best way to do things. Back then, I was working. Like, my then girlfriend would tell me, you probably marry Lumelu. Now she's my wife.
Marry your job.
Yeah. Right?
It wasn't a 9 to 5, it was a 24/7.
No, it was a 24-hour job. Early in the morning, you're sending a report to Tony Lumelu. Tony Lumelu reads every line of your email and responds, why is this? How come 10 people logged in yesterday and only 2 logged in today? Like, you give reports. But I was fine-tuning my skill. And shout out to everybody that managed me during the process. The then HR of Hess Holdings, and then she became the head of shared resources or whatever they call. I can't remember the roles again. It feels like many years ago. Owen Omogiafo. Owen really pushed him because Owen was like, you can do this. Why are you doing this? Bring this memo. Let's edit it together, right? And this is the importance of working for great places or working for great people. There's a study, and I'm going to deviate. There's a study that shows that people that work for very good companies or great companies end up running good companies. You know why? They learn the best skills or the structures that you need to run a good business. And that's what I received in the Tony Lumelu Foundation and in the Hairs Holding Group, because I was exposed to how things should be done and how things should not be done. And that kind of built my leadership skill, because I've always seen myself as a leader, right? Even if I was a low-level person, I've always aspired to be a leader. And I've always seen that I was good with managing people. So that honed my skill. And so when I was told, in short, let me even be very truthful, I wasn't necessarily told to come run the program. They said, okay, we need a high-level person. And they brought out that JD, 10 years, MBA this, MBA that, Me, I didn't have an MBA. I did not have 10 years experience. I was barely how many years from school, right? But the CEO then, Paminda Ver, said, I've been seeing what you're doing. Outside the workplace, you're leading startup grind. You work with entrepreneurs. I still think you're a good fit for this role. So I was like, me, I don't have it. She said, no, you know what? Write an application letter, give it to me. I'm going to give it to the chairman. That's Tony Lumelu. And she did it. And then one day I'm called into a meeting room. And typically when Tony Lumelu calls you into the meeting room and you see that there are people in the room, it's probably, okay, maybe the projector is not working or something is wrong or it needs your help. And so I rushed into the room and he goes, sit down there. So I sit at the head of the table. You have the head of HR, him at the center, the CEO of the foundation, some other top level people, and he says, I received your letter, so this is your interview. What? From nowhere. Why do you think you're the best person for the job? And I was stammering, right?
Yeah.
But I sold myself. And that's another lesson. Everybody is selling. Even when you are not talking, you are selling yourself. You have to learn to sell yourself in the right way. Because at the end of the day, value is always equal to what is perceived as. That means if somebody doesn't see the value you're selling, then you don't have any value. So learn to sell yourself appropriately. So in that means, I was saying, okay, this is what I do. This is what I do outside Hairs Holdings, which, I was afraid that he would kick against, like, so you spend all your time doing all this or that thing. But his logic was, so you do all these things outside, you're not doing it for us, right? This is what I think the program should be. This is what I can do with the program. And so I got the job with a salary increase. Because I pushed back to say, no, if I not change my title, I'll not increase my salary. So this is learn to push back. And so
value again.
Yeah, value. And so I got the job, and I dare say that since I left the Tony Elumelu Foundation, there has been no program manager as good as I am. Even the entrepreneurs from 2015 will always say, we miss you. You are one of the best people to manage the program. Now, this is not saying that the team is not doing amazing. Man, we have amazing people, especially women, because Tony Elumelu makes the point of recruiting great and smart women. Sometimes you sit down in a meeting and you're like, wow, these people are so smart, right? But I can beat my chest to say that when I left the program, my impact was felt. He even told me that I'm not happy you're leaving, but good luck, right? And so I left the foundation. I was tired. So I left the foundation after 5-6 years. And why I left was, it felt like I'd achieved the thing I wanted to achieve, right? When I entered the company. And I said, okay, let me take a break. Mind you, and that's why I said advice is contextual. I'm not saying quit your job, but when I quit my job, I really didn't have a plan. I just had savings. I said, next 3-4 months, I just want to relax and figure out what I had to do in my life, because I was getting dissatisfied with my role. I love the job, I love the entrepreneurs, but I was just, at that point in my life, I wanted something new. And so I just quit my job. And then I got a message from somebody saying, oh, remember we had a conversation many years ago. So apparently I interviewed her at one of the programs I was running outside my job. I need somebody to fill this role. Do you know anybody? And I was like, me? She's like, oh, okay. Let's have a conversation. So I went to meet her. We spoke. She gave me an offer. I rejected on the spot. End of conversation. 2 months after, I received a 6-figure offer. That means with 20 zeros, say, I need you on my team. Join. I didn't even wait to say no, because I saw the salary. I was like, okay, at this point in my life, this will do good for me, right? And I liked the challenge because it was a change of scenery. I was literally moving from philanthropy to venture capital. One of the reasons why I left philanthropy was I felt like giving out free money is good. It works for some people. But I feel like when people work for money, when people are held accountable for what you give them, they produce better results. And so I was tired of philanthropy. I wanted to go into venture capital or venture capitalism, or whatever you want to call it, the VC space. And that just fits. That was just at the right time. And I loved the lady, the MD of Ingressive Capital, or then the Ingressive Group. I loved that vision. I saw what she was trying to build. I loved the team. When I met the team, I was like, yeah, I really do want to work for this company. And here I am today.
Beautiful. So at what point, is it safe to say that your interest for startups started from Tony Elumelu's program?
I would say it started from my university days, but I became very excited about entrepreneurship and founders working with Tony Elumelu, because I began to meet so many people across the continent of Africa, and I began to see that the problems are the same. Different cultures, different behaviors, although Nigerians are special. The problems are the same. Access to capital, access to the right infrastructure, access to the right network. It's the same. Access to talent, same problems across the African continent. And so, I was like, how do we solve this? How can we build an ecosystem that solves this? Because the African continent is not going to grow and thrive by having 5-6 Dangotes. it will grow and thrive by having 10,000 small businesses. That's a fact. SMEs across the world are the largest employer of labor. Dangote cannot employ everybody. Tony Lume cannot employ everybody. But you see those SMEs, they will employ a bulk of the jobless youths that are working around. And that's why in Nigeria, we have so many underemployed people, because we don't have enough people going into business. Mind you, I'm also against the advice. You see, I'm going to say something very contradictory that says go and start your business. Or if you don't chase your dreams, what do you pay you to chase their own dream? That's all. Oh gosh, rubbish. Not everybody should start a business. And if you're going to start a business, work in a structured place or understudy somebody. Or else you're going to go into business blindly and you're going to make so many mistakes.
So now that you've moved into venture capital, or venture capital industry, do you have any challenge so far?
I would say my challenges are twofold, from the investor perspective and from the entrepreneur perspective. From the investor perspective, sometimes it's hard getting to those founders that necessarily need you. So instead, you're crowded by what I call noise, people that are not building high quality businesses. And that's because the very, very interesting founders sometimes tend to shy away from speaking out there, or they like to work in silence. I'm not saying don't work in silence, right? But if you're not selling yourself, remember how I talked about selling yourself, people are not going to see you. So one of my biggest problems is identifying the businesses to invest in that fit our own investment first. The second problem is obviously access to capital. We're trying to raise a fund of $10 million. And we see that, although this has changed over the years and it's getting better, we see that local investors or local high net worth individuals really put money in VCs, right? They just want to put money in assets abroad and all that. So it's harder to raise money or raise a fund in Nigeria and on the African continent. Most of our investors are from Silicon Valley and from Europe, right? From the entrepreneur perspective, because we support our portfolio companies, access to talent is a big problem. Yes, we have a large population of people, but we have a large population of low-level talent. And I mean this as not an insult to anybody, but most people out there are low-level talent because, one, they don't have experience. Number two, our educational system has not taught them to think for themselves. And thirdly, those two things. And so even the guys that are high, top-level talent who are suffering from brain drain, they're either working remotely for a company in Europe or in America, or they've probably relocated to Canada. And I don't blame them. I do not blame them, because Nigeria zone is hard. Running a business here is hard. So you find out that we have so many low-level talent that you have to keep on training and training and training and training to fit the ideal role. Now, in a very competitive world, as a founder, you don't want to spend all your time bringing people up to speed or training people and then they leave after 2 years or 1 year. You want to focus on building a team that will stay with you in the long term. So that's a big problem for founders. Secondly, access to capital. Yes, I tell people that not all money is good money. Like, don't take money from everybody. But if we have more money chasing businesses, it will be easier for entrepreneurs to pick the right people, right? To pick the right investors that they want to work with. And while the percentage of VC dollars flowing into Nigeria, and especially fintech, has increased year on year, we still need more people investing. We need more local investors. We need more institutions investing. In the US, a Harvard Business School has an endowment fund that part of it goes into startups. In Nigeria, name the biggest investor in Nigeria. How many of them invest the money they have, right? So we do have a problem of access to capital. It's getting better, but it could be way better. Because the more capital, the cost of getting capital in this country is really, really hard. Imagine going to the bank to raise money. The interest rates alone will kill you, right? So that is a big problem. But I also see that I struggle with founders that are not prepared for the role. So it's one thing to be technically competent. It's another thing to have leadership and foresight, right? You can be the best programmer, but if you don't have the core leadership skills, your company will suffer. You will not be able to lead. You end up micromanaging everybody till you burn out or you're unhappy. You will end up not forming the right connections. You will end up struggling in your business, not reaching out to the customers in the right way. So we find out that so many entrepreneurs are building their solutions from their point of view. And this is another point. They're not building the solutions from the customer's point of view. So growing up, I would say, I had this problem, and so it's a problem. But you have not gone out to actually do your research and see how many people are willing to pay for this solution I'm building. So you just quickly go and build a solution and nobody is willing to pay for it because you haven't done the homework. You haven't done your homework. So founders need to be careful. Chase product market fit. Is this product fit for the market? Are there enough people to pay for my products or services? Because you're not running a charity, your business must be sustainable in the long run. Those are some of the problems that I have to face.
Problems of leadership skill, building things from your own point of view. Yeah, those are some of the things. And one other thing I would like to ask is, now I am a person with a business idea and you are an investor. So I want you to help us understand how you view people with business ideas that make you take them seriously or make them have the likely chance of receiving capital, because a lot of people have business ideas, but from how do you look at a business and say, okay, this business I would like to, what things do you see in a business and say, this is where I want to put my money?
Okay, so before you even pitch to anybody, you need to understand what the investor is looking out for. And I tell people the easiest way to do is to ask the investor, what are you looking for? Really, it's not hard. They won't tell you no. The ground will not open and swallow you if they say no, right? That saves you the stress. But generally, investors are looking for traction. That's one. There has to be an observed growth month on month, week on week. So in January, I had 2,000 users. By March, we've scaled our 2,000 users to 2,800 users. And that's because XYZ. In April, we expect that these numbers will go to 10,000 because we have built XYZ. Now I begin to visualize. Secondly, the team. Your team, and this is why sometimes some investors insist that you have a co-founder. Your team must consist of people with complementary skills, COMPLE, complementary skills, people that help your team work well, not replicas of yourself. Now, the problem I see with founders is that they try to replicate themselves across board. You are going to fail woefully, you have problems, right? If you're a harsh person, get it done, and all people in your team are like that, all of you end up fighting and killing yourselves, right? If you're a developer and you don't know much about marketing and you're hiring more developers, you're going to fail, right? So we look at teams that have complementary skills. Who is the person writing code? Who is responsible for marketing? Who is responsible for HR, right? We want to know that there's a structure behind the team. So we want to know the solution, or third, we want to know the solution makes sense, right? Am I trying to sell ice soup in Alaska? Are you trying to sell winter jackets to people in Lagos or in Kaduna, right? The business must make sense, right? Is it feasible at all? And then what value proposition? So yes, this is your solution, but how different, what value are you creating for the customer? Because at the end of the day, it's the value that the customer derives from a product or service that makes them pay for it. Then who are the competition? And if you say you don't have a competition, that's a lie. You can either have indirect or direct competition. Once people say they don't have competition, I actually just zoom out. I log out like Windows XP. No. I leave the conversation. Because there has to be a competition. There's something competing for the customer's money. And in Nigeria, where 80% of people's earnings go into household items, there's really competition for the money that the customer has to pay you. So, who is this competition? How are you convincing the customer that you are a better use of their money? It's very, very important. What is your unique selling point? What makes you stand out from the market? What makes you different from the competition? What's your monetization plan? Is it a premium product? That means you give people for free and then you start charging them. Is it a tiered product? So if they pay this and they want to use different features, they have to pay extra. Like, what exactly is your monetization plan? What is your revenue model? Like, we want to know all these things. Then we can. Is there a big market for it, right? Because no investor wants to invest in a business that is going to be stuck on the streets. So, is there an investment? Can it scale? Like Ingressive Capital will say, is there a potential for a $1 billion market, right? Can it scale across board? Will it scale from street to street, from Nigeria to Cotonou, from Nigeria to Kenya? Is it scalable? Very, 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 very. And then you understand the basic financials. Yes, at the early stage, you don't have an accountant working for you, but you must your basic inflows and outflows, difference between profit and revenue, your LTV, that's lifetime volume of value of your customer, your cost of acquiring customers. So how much do you spend on ads? How much do you spend in acquiring the customer? How long do they spend? How, all those little figures, and you have to be ready with these figures. I can't be talking to you and like, oh, I don't know. let me call this person and ask him. That's why I remember I said at the beginning, it is also smart to ask your investor what information they are looking out for. So you are armed and ready to pitch, right? And then storytelling. See, the world revolves around storytelling. Apple is the company that they are today because Steve Jobs imbibed storytelling and a human-centric approach to selling products in the company. How does this product make the lives of the customer better? Tell it to us, sell it. If I'm pitching and I start, you know, when I was growing up, my mother used to take so many loans just to get us through school. And that stock caused her to be stuck in paying back loans for 10, 20 years. That's why I built XYZ. Helps you take loans at very affordable rates. That come from that. Since launching this product, we've amassed X million in volume of transaction in 1 year. In January, when we started out, we had 2,000 users. In December, we have 20,000 users transacting 10 billion naira. You see how I went with storytelling? In this 1 minute, I've captured almost everything you need to say in a business. So storytelling is very, very, very important. And if you observe your investors, you will know the kind of stories they want to hear. So if Ingressive is interested in you, and you look at our portfolio companies, we've done in logistics, we've done in various sectors, you should have a sense of the kind of companies that excite us. Now, if you don't even fall in those companies, you can still tell a story and say, your companies can, because we are giving out loans, companies like XYZ or portfolios can have access to cheap capital so that they can keep on running their business. You see how I tied everything together? That makes the investors think, okay, this person actually thought this through. Yeah. You must do the thinking for yourself. You must be thinking on your feet as an entrepreneur, and you must be deliberate with the kind of things you say, right? In short, in pitching, what you say and how you say it is very important. So you have to be very confident. Even when you are flustered, you still have to connect. And even when you don't even have an answer, you say, oh, very good question. This. But you know what? So that I don't give you the wrong information. How about I send you an email with the right information, but I assume that it is XYZ, right? Yes, I said at the beginning that you must know your numbers, but if you had forgotten, just say I've forgotten. But I guess it's this the last time I checked, and I will send you the right figures in 1 hour or maybe after this call, that kind of thing. So how you say it is very, very important. We've also gone from the stage of people just pitching to engaging. So when you're pitching, engage with me, right? I could be building a product for children, and I can ask the investor, oh, sir, I noticed you have 3 children, right? One girl, and then you'll be like, yes, I do. How do you know? Oh, I looked you up on Twitter. I noticed your children. Do you know that with this product that we are, well, now I'm sounding like a salesman, but do you know with this product that we are building, your children will be the best STEM students in the next 2-3 years? Or do you know that in Nigeria, children like yours that don't have the privilege like they have end up going through school and coming out dollars? I'm not saying that's a good pitch, right? They don't know math, they don't know English. Yes, this is why we are building this product, to help. But you see how I've connected it to the person, and you said the investor will be like, right? Because there is that engagement. Engage with whoever you're pitching to. Yeah, those are some of the tips that I have.
Very insightful. So I also want to ask, for this, because we know you're the Vice President of Fund Operations for Ingressive Capital. Now, if someone wants to build that career, what will the person need to study or learn? What certifications? So if I were to venture into having that career.
Administration and operation is a very, very interesting thing. And like I said, every step of my career, I actually learned something that got me here. You must learn the basics of leadership. And how did I learn the basics of leadership? I was listening to Tech Talk. See, the world is now so interconnected that you can get most of the information you need for free. I'm not saying don't chase your certification, but I'll tell you that, and I'll tell you for free, I built my career and not having certifications. Yes. At the beginning of my career, I spent money on certifications. So I won't even lie. I did. I went to New Horizons. I did all those tech, whatever. But I realized that it is in the value you create and you communicate that's the most important. In short, I tell people, after you get your first job, your certificate is useless because you can base your next job on the job that you did previously, right? So chase experience, chase knowledge. Now, when you're chasing knowledge, apply it to whatever job you're doing. So I was watching a lot of TED Talks. I was reading a lot of materials on program management. I learned project management. Shout out to the Tony Elumelu Foundation and Health Holdings. We did a serious project management. In short, twice we did project management courses. So that actually also helped me. Project management is very, very important if you're going to be running a fund, if you're going to be going to operations. Then you must, like I said, leadership, project management. Those are the two core. If you must learn leadership, you must learn project management, because in leadership, you realize that the way you relate to staff A will be the way you can motivate staff B. But you must always, there has to be a balance so that people don't see it as favoritism, right? Leadership is hard. In short, when I see people say CEO founder, I tell people, are you sure you want to be a CEO founder? It is not easy. It's sweet when you say it, but when you run and manage a team of 10, 20, 30 people, like I did in Tony Foundation, I was doing thousands of people, I realized that it's not easy. So leadership is so important. Project management, learn project management, very, very important. How to track tasks, how to assign tasks, how to break down a goal into, achievable tasks, and, track it in such a way that everybody's carried along and you're communicating appropriately. Then your communication skills, you have to learn. And it kills me when I see people talk and they're using all the big English and all. Communication is complete when the other person understands. So when I come to you and I'm saying a lot of jargon, big words, it doesn't make sense. So communication is important. Communication, how you feel. And then also, and lastly, very, very important, because even till today, there are things that happen even within the organization that you have to learn to separate yourself or your feelings from the job. Very, very important. And in life, this is actually very relevant. Somebody gives you feedback. Separate the person, separate yourself from the feedback and the job. Know that this feedback is given to me, not because the person hates me. Even if he pains me or I worked hard, I did not sleep, and he told me my memory is rubbish. But because the person will either sees something good in you, sees that you can do better, and sees that the job was done wrong. So how do you remedy the situation? So it's very, very important. Learn to separate emotions from the job. It can be very hard. When I separate emotions, keep it always about the job. I was giving feedback, I didn't do well. Okay, how can I do better? If I want to keep being this job, if I want to grow, how can I be better? I'm not saying that there are founders and leaders or CEOs that are not abusive. There are. However, most times feedback are not coming from a place of hatred or wickedness. It is for you to be better. So that's the last key. Learning to separate emotions from getting the job done.
I think at this point, we'd like to call it, wrap things up. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye.